Hey everybody, it's Emily from the channel Mindfully Trading, and today I'm going to share with you my recap from the day. It's been a green day and I'm going to break down the trades with you on the charts, and I'm also going to go through my review process. So let's get into it now. Okay, so the way I started trading today, I loaded all my screens and got into the zones about 20 minutes or half an hour before the London breakout session. And I loaded up my charts from yesterday, which I've already sort of been carrying out analysis on the price action for. And I think I kind of went through what was trading yesterday, so I'll sort of drag the charts across so you can get a better idea of those. So I looked at, let's put the hourly chart here on a bigger screen. So I had a look at the USD CAD as it's been making this really nice move in a downtrend. But as I loaded it up this morning, you can see the forecast that I did here, but I wasn't really convinced because as I was looking on the 4-hourly chart, when I was looking be around about this candle here, I mean at the time it wasn't this massive green bullish candle, but it was moving upwards, so I could see that it needed a little bit more pullback. So I drew this trend line here just to keep an eye on, but I didn't take any trades on it. I didn't think it was ready, and obviously I'm glad that I didn't do that. So I also had a look at Euro USD, which has been consolidating now. Initially I was interested at this sort of false break here of the daily trend line, where it kind of went above it and then it's had this big rejection. That really would have been the nice place to take the trade, but I think that's happened for whatever reason. I didn't actually catch the move on that, but it's broken down anyway. I was watching this channel here. It kind of broke it and then came back in, so I drew a trend line here, and although it did break it and I did have the opportunity to get into this, I didn't actually take the trade because I was already in 2 different trades. I'm still being a little bit cautious here as I'm a beginner trader. I don't want to over trade, I don't want to get into a bad situation, but I thought I'll carry on watching it to learn from the experience. And although if I'd have taken it, I mean I set this target here using my 40 pip stop, 60 pip target, and it would have come down probably to about a 1-to-1 there, which isn't obviously brilliant, and now it's coming back. I initially wasn't too trustworthy of it because of this breakdown and then the pull back up here. I wanted to see a clear kind of break before I would have considered getting in, so I didn't trade that. I'm going to keep that on watch, but I'm definitely not taking any more trades today. And yesterday I did trade the pound yen and got quite a nice move here. Let's just put this onto the hourly chart. On the pound yen, I actually traded around about this point as it broke down here and got a nice win on that one yesterday. And then it's carried on kind of in the New York session and then into the Asian session as well. So when I loaded up my charts this morning, I was looking at the 15 minutes here, and I did draw this trend line and it did break it. And again, I considered taking the trade. I decided against it for the same reasons, because at this point I was already in my 2 other trades. But as you can see here, you know, kind of wish I did take the trade on there. It would have been a nice winner. That's my 1.5 target again, risking 30 pips to make 45. But as you can see, if I'd have actually taken this trade, so it kind of broke this trend line here, I could have probably gotten in at 15, but let's just say I got in sort of lower down here at this red candle. Although I was targeting a 1.5 move, it actually went down, and I could have easily got a 2 move. I may have even hit 3. It depends on whether the price action would have hit the order on my broker, but I think I could have got double the entry on that one, double the reward rather, for the risk. So I didn't take that trade again, but it's just good to look over these things. I always think anyway, just so that you can learn from these experiences. You know, you never really totally know what the market's going to do, but this would have been a very nice position. I'm sure a lot of people have profited from that. So that is the pound yen. And then this is the pair that I was actually watching this morning, the Australian dollar to the US dollar. So again, I'm going to load up the hourly chart here. Now I've been watching this for a while because we've been in this uptrend here, and as you can see at the top, we kind of broke this pivot line, and there was a massive rejection red candle here. And once again, this is the point that I probably would have liked to have gotten into. I set this forecast on the daily chart, but it happened at 1 in the morning in my time, so very early this morning in the Asian time, so I didn't get into that. I understand that there are orders you can use with your broker, kind of like the buy stops or sell stops, would execute orders like that, but I'm not quite at the point of being able to trust those just yet, with me still kind of learning and getting consistent. Maybe it's something I'll do in the future, but not just yet. I prefer to be actively trading at the moment. But nonetheless, I kind of drew out this pattern here as it kind of come down. And then if we jump to the 15-minute time frame, so this flag pattern here is what I was watching, and I drew this trend line here. And as it broke this trend line, that's when I got short. I felt that that was a good position. I did use quite a large stop there just to give myself plenty of room. I used 40 pips stop, and I initially set a 1.5 target. So I'm going to jump back to the hourly just to show the breakdown. But this was a really nice trade. It went straight down, which is what it's always nice to do, isn't it, when you get into a trade? It didn't actually consolidate or test the stops or anything like that. It went straight down. So I was watching this. I had a horizontal ray line here just for the kind of little bit of, may have been a bit of resistance, but we sort of hesitated and then broke through that. And then this trend line here, again on the 15-minute time frame, we did see kind of a little bit of resistance off that, but we did break it and actually went back up to kind of retest that point and dropped, which is great. Again, I could have probably got a little bit more profit, which is where I'm at with my learning at the moment, is targets really. I'm trying to not cut my winners short, and I think I may have done that on this trade. This blue line here represents, I believe, my 2 to 1. All right, 2.5 to 1 profit loss ratio. I'm just going to remove that. Now it would have actually came and hit my 2 profit loss ratio, but I actually took my profit off at the 1.5. So I did cut my winner a little bit short there. And I think that's always the thing with trading, is even on the good days, you know, there's always something that can be better. You know, you could either have a better entry point or a better exit point, and that is what it is for me today. I mean, I'm happy I've hit my target. I feel like it was a good trade, a nice clean trade. It was fairly quick as well. I only held the position for probably about an hour and a half. But again, you know, room for improvement. I could have just extended my target a little bit, but I'm happy with my 1.5. I've only risked 1% on this trade, so I've made 1.5% here. So that is the Australian dollar to the dollar. And just after I got into that trade, I also was looking at this trade, the New Zealand dollar to the dollar. This was quite an interesting trade. I'm going to load up the hourly chart to share this with you. And it's quite similar again. We've got this big uptrend. And before I can really go into detail on this one, I think it's best to share with you a chart from a trade I took yesterday. And this one is on the US dollar to the yen. So let's jump to an hourly time frame. Take that one out. That was just an experiment. Now, yesterday I was watching this one, and I was actually watching it for a long position. I thought that this was making a bull flag on the hourly chart. So I was roughly watching it around this 54 mark, 109 pounds and 54 pence. Now I did actually get into this trade yesterday, and then as soon as it started breaking to the downside and became clear that actually this is going the other way, I did get out and I cut my loss quite short. So I was quite happy with that, because it did end up being a green day yesterday as well. But the interesting thing was this pattern here. I felt that this was very similar to this pattern here that I saw this morning on New Zealand dollar to the dollar. I initially drew this trend line and I had the same thought. I wondered, because of this uptrend here, I thought maybe it would bounce off that, find some support, make a move higher, and maybe go to test the upside of this uptrend. But then on the 15 minutes, I'll just jump into that for you. I kind of watched this move up here, and then as it came back down here, I realized that actually this might be very similar to what we had yesterday with the dollar to the yen. And I kind of switched my analysis, my frame of mind, to looking at short position. So I identified this horizontal ray here, which would be a possible support that needed to be broken before I'd get into the trade. And then of course, if we broke that point, we've already broken this trend line anyway. And that's why I came up with my entry here. So as we broke down this point, I got short at about 0.6537. As you can see, I used a 30 pip stop, and I actually aimed for a 2-to-1 here, because once we've actually broke this initial trend line and horizontal ray, I didn't really see much that would act as resistance, so I felt comfortable taking a larger target. I did put this trend line here just to indicate where my 1.5 target would be, just to watch that area, but I did aim for a 60 pip target, which I'm happy to say I managed to get, which is brilliant. And again, I got into this about, I think it worked out about 7:20 in the morning, and it hit my target probably about the same 9:20, so I held it for a couple of hours. But as you can see, it's a really nice clean trade coming down here. I think that I probably could have held it for longer. It looks like it's now making a little pullback here. I'm not going to jump back in or anything like that, but it's just quite interesting to go over these trades. I'm certainly going to keep an eye on it a bit later on just to see how it does react. These lines here, I know it looks a little bit messy, but these are just indicators for me, indicating target points. So that would be a 2.5, this would be a 3, just to see kind of how much I could have gained really, and for kind of future learning from that trade. But I am happy to get 2, and once again I risked 1%, so I've made 2% on that trade, which means all in all I'm up 3.5% on my account today, which is brilliant. And just to share the flip side of that trade, as I said, the New Zealand dollar to the US dollar, I was initially looking at taking a long position, and this is what I drew out. So it would have been about this time here, and I didn't take the trade, but as it did reject that, that was when I actually realized it was going to go down, and that's when I flipped short. So I'm quite happy that I caught that. A couple more interesting trades I didn't actually take, but just to share these with you. The pound dollar. I traded this one yesterday and got a win off this one. So I was a bit reluctant to trade it today because I wasn't too sure it was going to do much, to be honest, but it did make a nice little breakout lower here. That's the hourly, so let's jump into the 15 minutes to see a bit clearly. At this point, once again, about 7:30 this morning, I kind of drew this trend line here, and it did break it. And again, I thought, do I get into it or not? I didn't want to be in loads of different trades and then kind of struggle to keep an eye or manage them all. I don't know if that's right or not. I'm still learning about that process at the moment, but I'm happy to have taken 2 trades and be in them. And I don't want to kind of increase my exposure risk anymore either at the moment. So until I get more consistent, more used to trading, I might take more trades at one time, but until that point, I'm happy just to learn from these. So, you know, again, looking at this, it would have been really nice to have gotten in this and have another 1.5 win together with the pound yen I showed you earlier. And technically I could have made an extra 3% on the account, which I'm not going to lie, that would have been great. But it would have been going against my risk rules if I was in 4 trades at one time. You know, I'm risking 4%, and a trade is not guaranteed until you've actually closed that position. So it's why I didn't get in. But it's nice to look now and just see the breakdown here. So it crossed this trend line. If I'd have gotten in at this point, as you can see, it would have been a nice 1.5 move, risking 30 pips to make 45 pips. And it did continue lower. It's actually broken this daily trend line here, and it seems to be moving up to retest that. So it could be an entry to get in for a move lower. But if I'd taken it, I could have gotten a 2% win on there. I could have even gotten a 2.5%. So it did make quite a nice move, the pound dollar. And just to zoom out on the pound dollar on the hourly chart, I'm just going to flick to the larger time frames here, the 4 hourly, and then let's have a look at the daily. So it was getting quite extended on the daily anyway, and we've hit this pivot point here that we've already retested before and failed, and it looks like that's what we're starting to break below. So, you know, looking at the charts, if we do close below this pivot line, it might indicate a further move lower over the next few days. This was on my watch list at the beginning of the week for a short, so it's interesting to see it playing out now, and I'm certainly going to keep an eye on that later as the week progresses. So contrary to my previous videos where I've been risking 3% to make 4.5% or even 6%, I've actually shifted a little bit in the way I've been trading, and I've brought my risk down to risking 1% now, which means very, very, very steady growth or loss on my account, and I understand that. But I'm not really at the point where my intention is to make money at this stage. As a beginner, I believe my intention should be to not lose money, and that's what I'm doing now by risking 1%. I'm reducing my risk, and my goal really is to just build my accuracy, build my profit and loss ratio, and ultimately build my consistency on the account. So once I've had, you know, a couple of months at least where I'm consistently green and I'm I'm being consistent and it's becoming more of a flow, then perhaps I will rethink my risk and I may risk more per trade. But until that point, I'm going to keep my risk at risking 1% per trade. And because of that, as you can see, my actual P&L figures are quite low, but that's because I'm only risking 1% on a small account. So as I said, I opened my account this morning at 420 and I've closed it. Sorry, I opened it this morning at 4:30 and I closed it just under 450. It's a shame I didn't get that extra 60p just to tip me over, but hey ho. But no, I'm quite happy with that today. That's a really good win rate. So I'm going to load up my trade tracker review spreadsheet and I'm going to note these up just so that I can keep an analysis there. I do keep a journal entry after I've done my trades using TraderView, which is a brilliant software. It's free. It allows you to just create a new journal entry for each day. So this is my June the 9th journal entry. And I just sort of note down the data of getting in and then also my notes. It makes it easier to just switch that to my spreadsheet. Everyone has their own process of reviewing, and this is my personal process. I do think that reviewing trades is very important. I think some people may not think it is, but you know, I believe that if you're just trading and you're not actually reviewing, then you're missing out on crucial learning there. So like today, you know, I'm going to note this, and I already know from my previous notes that I can sometimes cut my winners short. So just gives you some framework to go by really for continual improvement. And that's what trading's all about, isn't it, guys? So let's load up the spreadsheet. Right then, so here's my daily record spreadsheet. When I mentioned just before about my percentage change, that is basically a new process that I've come into effect as of Monday of yesterday. So that's why there'll be this sort of difference here. So today we are the 9th and I have done 2 trades. So I'm going to put 2 different 9s in there. Trade number 1, 724, the Australian dollar to the US dollar, and I went short. I only took a 0.01 lot size. I could have probably put 0.02. I was in the middle and my broker doesn't allow for any more digits than that, so I went with the lower version of that. So very, very low risk here, but it's all about risk management. So 69876, my stop was 0.70281 and my target was 0.69265. My closing price on Australian dollar to USD was this figure here, 69251, which was my 1.5 target. So I've won 63 pips on there. I made £4.91, but I'm focusing more on the percentage here. So I actually made 1.55% on that trade. And if I go back to the top of my notes, yep, so it was a consolidation flag breakout. Nice trade. My only kind of reflective points here is that I could have held it for getting more profit really. Could have made 2 to 1, an extra 0.5%. Beware of cutting winners too short. And that'll do for that one. That's trade number 1. Trade number 2. I haven't written a time, but I do know that it was pretty much straight after that one, so I'm going to just put 725 here. And that's the New Zealand dollar to the US dollar, -1 because I went short again. Slightly higher position there. I think it's just to do with the actual exchange rate. I do use the position size calculator on FX, on my FX book. I've actually covered in another video how I use that to calculate my lot size, so I'll include a link to that video here if you want to check that out. But the New Zealand dollar to the dollar, and my entry was 0.65369. My stop was 0.65671 and my target was 0.64765, risking 30 pips to make 60 pips. And the New Zealand dollar to the dollar, I hit my target at 0.64765, so I did make the 60 pips on that one. And again, that's why this Australian dollar USD was a little bit of a smaller lot size, because I did have a little bit of a larger stop on that trade. But anyway, the New Zealand dollar to USD, I actually made £9.51 on that one, and it worked out at 2R or 2% as per the risk management I'm using. And again, it was a consolidation flag breakout below the trend line, below horizontal support and the trend line as well. Have a nice trade. possible long-term move because there wasn't really any upcoming resistance, so I just want to keep an eye on that. But you know, I'm happy taking day trades on these. I didn't really want to hold any overnight, so I'm just going to keep an eye on that for my own learning. And they're the only two trades that I've done today, so I'm going to color code those just to make it a little bit easier to keep on top of. Let's give it a nice blue. And my total profit and loss in monetary terms, £14.42. And my total percentage for the day as 3.5. Cool, so I'm finishing up the day 3.55% and £14.42. So I'm going to switch into my weekly review metrics Excel spreadsheet here, which pretty self-explanatory. It's just where I actually keep check on my weekly performance. So I haven't actually updated this, but I didn't take any trades this week. I do talk about it in my previous video why I didn't take any trades then, but I'm getting back into it this week. And today I'm up £14.42. So I'm actually up £28.36 on the week. So that's solid. That's a good start to June. I'm happy about that. That's awesome. I'm going to save that. And I'm going to try and keep up this momentum, try and keep up my consistency, managing my risk, and you know, trying not to cut my winners too short, trying to keep this nice profit and loss ratio. Just trying, got to keep trying. The life of a beginner trader, the journey to consistency and success. Right, I hope that you've enjoyed this video anyway, guys. Any questions or comments, leave them below. If you have enjoyed it, please drop me a like, because it really does help me out. It takes a while to build these videos, so it's brilliant if you show a bit of appreciation, show a bit of love, and I'll catch you in the next video. Thank you. Bye.